Welcome to the Assure Model Roundtable discussion. I am your facilitator, Carolyn Mitchell. Joining me for the discussion are my participants, Pitigay Bryan and Sharman Salandi. Roundtable discussions are an opportunity for participants to get together in an informal setting to share and examine the process as it relates to the Assure Model Lesson Plan. During this discussion, each participant will be given 4 minutes to discuss specific segments of the Assure model and how we integrated technology within an English language lesson to teach essay writing. The Assure model, first designed by Robert Gange, is an organized, planning, and assessment tool, and it is a systematic approach to lesson development. The Assure model is research-based and adopts a step-by-step method which helps to make the acronym to form its title. It is intended to assure effective instruction. Within the Assure model, the lessons are aligned with local and national standards. Additionally, the Assure model was initially designed to help teachers integrate technology effective in the classroom environment. The 6 steps of the Assure model include: 1. Analyze learners. What is the class size, sex, age, ethnicity, ability levels, current knowledge or prerequisites, and the learning styles of the students? 2. State objectives. The learning objectives should be SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time. 3. Select methods, media, and materials. List all of the required materials and media needed for the lesson and provide justification for the use of the various media materials. 4. Utilize media materials and methods. Indicate how the media materials would be used to enhance learning. 5. Require learning participation. Include the instructional strategies employed to deliver the lesson. And 6. Evaluate and revise. Evaluate students' performance, methods, media effectiveness, and instructors' performance. Let's now invite Pitigay into the discussion, who will share her perspective on what the group achieved during the organizing process and the standard utilized within the Assure lesson plan. She will be followed by Charmaine, who will discuss what was required by the learners, the evaluation and revision process utilized within the Assure model lesson plan.
Hi everyone. As we set about meeting as a group, some methods didn't quite work for us. We eventually used WhatsApp group video calling, Dropbox, and Google Docs. We started out by looking at an Assure lesson plan template we found on a Weebly website. We then did some brainstorming of ideas for the lesson and decided to do a language arts lesson on essay writing. We then began creating objectives while referencing Bloom's taxonomy. We not only tried to ensure the objectives were SMART, but also used them as linear as possible from lower order to higher order thinking skills. We also tried to include learners with disabilities in our classrooms, while at the same time kept a student-centered approach to the teaching and learning process. We had one student in a wheelchair, two with auditory processing disorder, and one who is visually impaired. Our lesson engaged the learners from the beginning with a YouTube video and the Poll Everywhere presentation app, as well as have them use the Microsoft Office suite and complete a brief end-of-session online survey. For the teachers, we ensured that they got support from the IT lab technician, where they worked together to ensure that the lab was prepared ahead of time. He double-checked the computers to see that Microsoft Office suite was on all of them, and he checked the Wi-Fi router to ensure that it was working for those students who would choose to use their phones or tablets to access the internet for information. Now, for our objectives, we use the CXC English syllabus to inform the standard we expect at the end of the class. As our learners are all 11th graders, it was only appropriate to be doing essay writing, as they are going to be required to write essays in quite a few subject areas that they'll be taking for their CSEC exams next May. Our incorporation of the technology was not only about the teacher's lesson, but we included the learners. We did not merely want our learners to have such a superficial experience with the technology by just seeing a YouTube video and commenting on it. However, we wanted them to have some interaction with the technology by going online to do research, using the Microsoft Office suite, asking them to email their essays at the end of the class using Outlook, as well as doing the PowerPoint presentations. Asking students to select a topic for the discussion from the 3 suggested concerns was pretty deliberate on our part. The lesson is being delivered in October, and the topics were all a part of the issues being observed as a part of the health observances for October 2018. The topics from which students would select are all concerns of the nation, for example, mental health, oral hygiene, and domestic abuse. The idea to do this is to make the students aware of current affairs, as well as be informed about the topics surrounding the issues. Students had previously been learning about the stages involved in writing an essay, and this class is a culmination where they are required to produce an essay. Students writing the essay is a part of the desired outcomes, where they should be able to write about a topic using supporting paragraphs, as well as create an effective conclusion.
Thank you, Carolyn. In this segment, we will look at how we determine the methods, media, and materials for the lesson plan. The Assure model incorporates events of instruction to assure the effective use of media in instruction. We began this segment by developing a systematic plan for using media and technology and their corresponding methods. It is often said no instruction should begin without everyone having a clear understanding of what is supposed to happen in the instruction. To determine the methods, a student-centered approach was devised to orient the students and to motivate discussions and their participation. Teacher-centered activities such as showing a 2-minute YouTube video will have to break the ice and get the students comfortable with the subject area, thereby easing them into the lesson. Media. Because we needed to accommodate the diverse learning styles, various media were selected to aid in achieving the expected learning outcomes. These media were used to form part of the attention grabber for the lesson and included the use of computers, laptops, visual aid, the internet, and software applications such as online evaluation surveys, PowerPoint, Microsoft Word, and Outlook. Materials. Existing materials such as textbooks will be used. However, to accommodate the visual learners, a whiteboard and graphic organizer will also be utilized to facilitate learning. Handouts will be prepared. The rubrics developed for this lesson will be used to delineate the criteria for grading and communicating the expectations of quality surrounding a task. It is expected the evaluation of the class will provide insight on whether the program had been adequately developed to meet the pedagogical needs of the class. Further, the 5 phase process was used to create a good student-centered instruction. Preview the material for accuracy and to ensure that the content was appropriate for the students and to have them readily available. All the relevant material was previewed in advance of the lesson. Prepare the material and technology. To ensure the material and technology was up and running and ready for the lesson, all systems, including the internet links, laptops, and computers were checked. Prepare the environment. How will you establish the appropriate atmosphere is one of the questions you have to ask in order to have the environment in such a way to accommodate the learning process. Whether the classroom was set up to facilitate an easy transition of the big to small group assignments were also considered. Prepare the learners. Students were given an overview of the class. They were advised on what was expected from them, the resources they would be required to use, what they could expect to gain from the class, how their learning would be assessed, and how they would evaluate the teachers after the session. Provide the learning experience. Teaching and learning should be an experience, not an ordeal. Therefore, all efforts were made to make the lesson enjoyable for all participants, using practical examples and by engaging the students, particularly during the small and large group activities. In conclusion, we see that the Assure model enabled us to incorporate technology within the lesson plan and would assist in achieving the cognitive, psychomotor, and affective objectives. Students will learn to use technology to complete a writing exercise, compose and send emails, engage and share information using technology. This demonstrates that the Assure model is effective in facilitating the pedagogical process, that learning objectives can be achieved, resulting in students either meeting or exceeding expectations. I thank you, and I now hand you over to Carolyn, who will moderate the question and answer segment.
Thank you, Charmaine. We will now commence the question and answer segment. Pitigay, do you have a question?
Sure. How were the learners analyzed?
Well, for this lesson, the learners were analyzed based on their grade level, which is grade 10, their age, ethnicity, academic ability, learning style, and of course, the individualized education program where we had 4 students who needed special attention.
Thank you. It's important to analyze learners. Charmaine, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. I wanted to find out what accommodations were made in the lesson by way of differentiating instruction so as to cater to specific needs of your learners.
Okay, so our learners were audio and visual learners mainly. We had 1 student in a wheelchair, 2 students who have auditory processing disorder, as well as 1 visually impaired. We used YouTube videos and the graphic organizers for our visual learners. The group that the visually impaired student is assigned, they were allowed to use borders on their essays. For the auditory processing disorder students, we had them sit away from the window and the door. And the fact that we are using the IT lab, it is also helpful with reducing the distraction of the noise outside. That's basically it.
Thank you, Peter Gay. Very helpful.
Awesome. Okay. I'm happy to hear that the Assure model allows accommodation for our IEP students. Carmen, what are some of the challenges faced when integrating technology in the classroom?
Well, there are a number of them, Carolyn, but I'll just go through a couple of them. So for instance, uh, when there's insufficient time for the students to learn and play around with the technology because of the number of hours scheduled per week for classes. Sometimes in some instances where there's poor connectivity, uh, which can pose problems with reception and can sometimes be frustrating to the students who are used to quick and easy access. The issue of digital citizenship is addressed by the enforcement of collaboratively developed protocols and behavior. However, more of the teacher's time could be spent dealing with students' misbehavior instead of the technology itself. And finally, training can be a barrier to technology integration when it lacks connection to actual classroom practice or focuses solely on technical skills.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies. This Assure Model Roundtable discussion was informative. I trust that teachers will continue to use technology or integrate technology within their classrooms so that at the end of the day, our students will be global citizens. Thank you and have a good day.
Bye now.
Bye.